Jakki, welcome to the Pink Coach podcast. Such a pleasure to have you on. For our viewers, I met Jakki the other day at the Virtuoso on Tour event, and Jakki was part of a panel talking about sustainability. Now, I got very interested because it's been my experience that when we run news about suppliers, cruise lines, tour operators, airlines, whatever, delving into the issue of sustainability, the traffic just plummets. It's like the interest level is just not there. And I don't know if that's because it just seems too hard, too complicated to understand, or is it because advisors' customer base aren't that keen on, the additional effort to go down the sustainability route, but it is something that you specialize in that is part of your DNA, as you told me. It's part of who you are as a person, but it's also part of what you do as a business. So talk to me, Jakki. Tell me about how you bring sustainability to the table with your clients.
Thanks, Nina. Thanks for having me. I definitely do talk about sustainability in every aspect of my travel business and conversations regarding all the types of partners you mentioned. I believe every type of travel folks are taking can have a sustainable element. And yeah, I agree. Sometimes people can sort of think you're white noise when you bring up
Yeah.
sustainability, but it is important to sort of insert that conversation into everything so that people can really understand, even if it is only a nice to have at this point, that there is a sustainable element to their trip and that even a small decision they might make choosing one operator over another, one hotel over another, that they can actually find something to feel good about, even if, of course, the whole purpose of their trip is not some sustainable slant. They may just be wanting to have a great vacation or a great holiday with their family or loved ones, and that it's a nice to have feature for them to see something sustainable added.
Now, Prince Adventures, you specialize in excursions and in adventure travel and a lot of FIT, I gather. So, does that make it a bit easier to bring sustainability into the mix? Because if you're selling mass market, it's not always very sustainable.
Yeah, there's definitely some types of travel style that suit the sustainable conversation better. I do work in the expedition space and adventure space. Like you mentioned from the Virtuoso event, I'm a part of those communities, sustainability adventure. But I do sell ocean cruise, river cruise,
Yeah.
and I think certainly in a mass market lens, there's always something you can highlight, if even an all-inclusive resort. I think, as some of our colleagues in our conversation last week said, you can always find somebody advertising something. And it's our job to try to cut through the greenwashing and really highlight what is sustainable and also help people understand amongst the myriad of choices they have that it doesn't always cost more and it's not always too complex to understand between what options are out there for people to make the sustainable choice.
Well, tell me how it even comes up in conversation. That's something I'm very curious about. Does it come up, or do you bring it up, or where
I
does it
bring it
sit?
up. I do. I
You
bring it up.
do, eh?
Well,
Good
I
for
think it
you.
gives people the opportunity to then ask a question they might feel nervous or scared to ask. It also helps me to understand what types of values they have as a traveler, if it's going to be a big part of the conversation or if they're not really interested in more. And it sort of opens the door so it makes it comfortable. And then that way, too, if there is something super unique about where they're going or the destination or the choices of destinations or their style of travel, that I'm sort of trying to tease out of them what I can put together custom for them. By bringing it up, I help them make the conversation sort of more direct, and it makes it more direct for me to ask them questions so that I know how to best curate, and especially for a custom trip, what they're going to enjoy most and not bore them with perhaps details they're not super nerding out about.
Right. So, do you mainly focus your recommendations based on suppliers that you know tend to be a little more focused on sustainability?
Not always. It depends on the client. Certainly, if the
Okay.
person is interested, then I will definitely highlight and choose a partner with that. It aligns with my values to seek suppliers and partners that are, have B Corporation status or have different types of sustainable certificate. I think it's important to be aware of the products and services that are out there for clients who do want it. But no, I can't say I limit only what I sell to travelers to be only those with the highest attainable sustainable goals and targets.
Talk to us about the B
B
focus that you just
Corporation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a previous business before I joined the travel industry, and I personally had it B Corporation certified. It was a food service business. It was hard to be B Corporation certified when you have food businesses. But I look for that because it is a benchmark that you can highlight, and companies in our industry have it. It helps people discern through the white noise or the sort of the traffic or volume about people just highlighting their sustainable choices versus being accredited in a certain way. It's a rigorous application process with a lot of checks and balances. It's like fair trade to chocolate. B Corporation is to business owners. You can see that they've met a certain standard, so you don't have to know all the nitty-gritty details. You know that B Corporation is putting their logo on it, so you can trust the sustainable quality of whatever product or service, be it a tour company, a hotel, a cruise line, expedition line.
Are you seeing a shift in suppliers focusing on ensuring that their product is meeting some level of standards, like getting rid of, plastic water bottles and that type of thing? Are you seeing an increase? Is it a part of people's presentations to you in terms
Definitely.
of just, yeah?
Yeah, I see a shift in that in conversations like when I'm meeting with large numbers of suppliers at industry events. People are bringing it up more often. They're trying to highlight what differentiates them from their competitors. And, you know, beyond are the days where people just want that white sandy beach or that cocktail at a
Yeah.
martini bar. They need to know that there's something that they're doing with their travels. And I think suppliers are highlighting that to travel advisors more and more often, I assume, because they know that we are getting these questions at least a little bit on our end. And
Mm.
for those of us like myself who are keen to incorporate it into part of our values of our business, we want to be able to have those examples to bring up. It's not good enough to just say, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. There's no harm done here with this trip. They know
Right.
that people want to be able to suggest, these key components of their sustainable efforts.
You know what's interesting? I think the travel industry as a whole has a huge responsibility when it comes to sustainability, of course, because if we don't take care of the planet, we won't have a place to travel to. So it's like a no-brainer. We really, I mean, of course, as advisors, there's only so much you can do. But I think the industry, the suppliers, I'm wondering, do you notice that there's that mindset that unless we take care of things, we're going to destroy the product we're selling?
Definitely. And sustainability isn't just about wildlife and the oceans. It's not just about single-use plastics. It's about everything from local economies and gender equity and helping people support in the off-season of tourism, considering over-tourism and peak times. Spreading out that economic dollar across the globe is really important too. It's not just will my safari vehicle drive over an animal, or will it, are we in a place where there's 30 vehicles looking at one line, right? So I think there's a big conversation piece around we have to do more to protect, but also we can enjoy that along the way. Not every trip has to be a volunteer trip where you're planting trees. You can have great, sometimes incredibly ultra luxury vacations that have sustainable elements that don't negatively impact your experience. They in fact enhance it.
Is there any type of association within the travel retail sector that helps everyone compare notes? I mean, certainly I know as a member of Virtuoso, you have access to a lot of that information, but outside of Virtuoso,
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't say that there's one stop that I can think that I go to for those resources. It's a lot of one-to-one relationship building with suppliers. Virtuoso has great statistics, and of course, the communities there share a lot of those notes. And I think peer-to-peer advice is really the best place that I've got that information by knowing a network of travel advisors, who we are essentially in a community together,
yeah.
helping raise the standard maybe towards more sustainable travel. I think I've learned most from my peers across North America and the world. It's not like one sort of network or library of information or resources.
So for an advisor who's listening to us now and wants to take greater care in selling products that are sustainable, what sort of advice do you have for them?
I would say get to know your peers, ask those questions, bring up sustainability when you're talking with your clients, see if it's relevant to your audience. And if you're seeking to grow your database and meet more travelers you're going to work for, then, seek out where those people are getting their information. So if you meet your peers who have some experience in sustainability, you can learn from them about what suppliers have been great to work with. And if you're looking to talk to new clients who have a sustainable,
Mindset?
approach or
Yeah,
mindset or value-based
right.
decision making about sustainability, it will help them by you having those conversations and going to where they are. If it's of important to grow your business to in that direction, then reach out to suppliers that are highlighting in their marketing. You can see it on their consumer sites, not just on the advisor channels they talk to us in. And of course, the peers. There's so much peer-to-peer learning in this industry, I find.
Okay, well, we are going to create a peer-to-peer platform And we're going to call it the green bin. I just decided that.
Just a green bucket of information, a resource bucket.
Everybody that has information shares, and then
Right.
it becomes a resource for the greater
Well, and I think
community.
consortia groups want to be that too, right? Like I know
Yeah,
virtually so the communities, I love that community, but even if people aren't a part of consortia group like that, attending industry events where you're cross-pollinating with everybody and you
right.
can bring that up. And at those lunches or at those sort of times where there's a lull, don't bring up about something mundane in your life. Ask an interesting question at the table. Be the person that says, "Hey, what's a sustainable feature you've noticed about a new supplier you've met this month or this quarter?"
Love
See what
it.
people say. Be the conversation starter, and then maybe put that into that information resource you're going to make the green bin.
So, after, oh, I know those weren't advisors that were listening to you. I was just curious if people approached you after the panel, but those weren't advisors. But do you find advisors approach you to get some of your wisdom on how to sell?
Definitely. I think, I have a lot to give, and likewise to so many others. I have a passion for the environment. I have a degree in environmental science. Like it's a part of who I've been for decades now. And just because I'm now applying that thought knowledge to the travel industry, I think people do come for information. And plus, I'm willing to share. And I think a big part of being a part of a host agency or being at these events with all various advisors from different backgrounds, it's important to share your knowledge and help people because we're actually only making the industry better. And if we can make the industry better to make it a more sustainable travel industry across the globe, how does that hurt anybody? It doesn't. And I think that we can really improve into some small way and move the needle to make sure that even if we're not making it the sole focus of our business, I can't say Prince of Ventures is solely focused only on sustainable travel. That'd be misleading, but we can make it a part of it. And everyone, I think, has a responsibility to make it a part of their businesses too.
You ever thought of going into politics, Jackie?
No, absolutely not. That looks like one of the worst jobs on the planet. No, I'll stick to travel for now.
It's one
Thanks.
of the worst jobs because we don't have people like you arguing for
Kind of
various
you.
causes, and you're just so well spoken, and your delivery is great, and it's inspiring to listen to. So I love that. Thank you so much for your time. Really, it's fascinating, and I'd like to do more on the topic if you're willing to.
Willing to and always happy to chat. I think people need to keep bringing up
Yeah.
sustainability on all sides of the conversation, and it can only improve for everyone.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks for having me.